council regular meeting, and to remind us of our guiding principles in the actions that we're about to take this evening, which are we raising the bar? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building connections with outside partners? And is the decision-making process positively impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion? Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a published agenda. Mr. Trenary, I think you would like to add something.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add to our business item agenda 7E, which has been prepared by Mr. Bond, and it's a resolution authorizing the city to apply for a recreational conservation office grant for the Orchard Street Plaza project.
Second to add that up.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Trenary, second by Councilmember Diener, to add a business item 7E, which is a resolution to authorize the city to apply for a grant for the Orchard Street Plaza. Any discussion regarding adding that to the agenda? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that item has been added to our agenda. Are there any other proposed modifications to this evening's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Seconded.
A motion by Councilmember Diener and a second by Councilmember Trenary to approve the agenda as modified. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for this evening. We are to our first citizen comment period, which is for items on this evening's agenda. We have a second citizen comment period at the end of the meeting for all other items. Is there anyone wishing to address the council for items on the agenda? Online, please use the raise your hand feature and the clerk will bring you in, okay? Seeing no one, we'll close the first citizen comment period. We are to our consent items. Is there a motion to approve? Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Diener, a second by Councilmember Morrissey to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda has been approved. We have a presentation this evening, and I see the fabulous folks from the Fathoms of Fun here. And would you like to come address the City Council?
Good evening, everyone. And it's that time of year again, so here I am presenting our new World of Short. And we just wanted to make an announcement, have them all introduce themselves, and say that Fathoms of Fun is going strong. We have a new leadership, and we're going to be doing a lot of the same kind of events that you're used to seeing, and maybe some things that are a little bit different. But we're up and roaring and ready to have a good time. And let Port Orchard show Fathoms of Fun what is fun about Fathoms. I don't know what to say. I was trying to come up with something witty, but it just didn't happen. So at this time, what I'm going to do is have people come up, and they're going to say their name and their grade, age, and what their platform was. So I'm going to start with Queen Nick, and then go on down the line.
Hi everyone, I'm Queen Nick. I'm a 17-year-old junior at South Kitsap High School and a Running Start student at Olympic College. And my platform was the encouragement of love and acceptance for all. Thank you.
You're welcome to move that microphone up a little higher if you'd like, so you don't have to lean into it so far. There you go.
Hello, I'm 8th grade and I'm 13 years old. My platform was teenage mental health awareness.
Good evening, I'm Zach, Prince Zach. I'm a sophomore at South Kitsap High School, and my platform was teenage health and fitness.
Hello, I am Duchess Mia. I am 17 years old. I'm a junior at South Kitsap High School, and my platform was my first show
Junie Persis Dakota. I'm 12 and I'm 7th grade at Marcus Whitman, and my platform was music.
So this is the time that we shamelessly go around the audience, so here you guys go, and we're gonna sell our buttons. $1 each, and then after that, they're all done selling buttons to all of you wonderful people. We're gonna have a picture as always. Does anyone have questions that you would like to ask at the time, or is it just like, yeah, we already know everything, so?
We do appreciate you coming this evening and introducing the court to us.
Yeah,
And,
thank you.
Hopefully everybody brought some cash.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
What was your platform?
So what happened? What'd you do?
Lucky to have it.
I wasn't aware of anything.
Much appreciated.
Oh my goodness.
Rather than being
Thank you.
She got me already.
She got me. Yes, thank you,
Got
thank
one
you.
now.
How about if we all come down in front of the guys? Yeah, I think I want to get a picture.
We should
stand here because they're taller than us.
I don't know what to tell you. They're around this. Yes. Yeah, whatever you want to do. Yes. I like to have you guys sprinkle in so that you're kind of some, yeah. There, yeah, stand with it. Anyone else want to be in the picture? Does Matt want to be in the picture, or does he not want to be in? Or you want to set? Okay, can we cluster in really tight because I like to love each other, okay? Basically, yes, I see everyone. Ready? Here we go. Fantastic, thank you so much. Should I send it to Randy or? Okay.
Well, I'd never heard of that.
ready.
Right.
This one's kind of fun.
That was our presentation for this evening.
Nice.
And we're to our business items, the first of which is an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code 13.06 pertaining to storm drainage services and charges and capital facilities charges. Ms. Archer, this is you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Before you this evening is an ordinance making amendments to the existing code at 1306 of the Port Orchard Municipal Code pertaining to stormwater drainage. To provide some context and in supplement to our conversation at our work study, in 2023, the City Council adopted the city's 2023 Stormwater and Watersheds Comprehensive Plan, and this was the result of a multi-year collaborative effort by city staff and consultants to evaluate the community's stormwater needs. Concurrently with the development of that comprehensive plan, staff utilizing FCS Group, which is a consultant who looks at rate, or who performs rate studies. A rate study was performed related to the city's stormwater utility, and that rate study resulted in the identification of two things. One, a need to update the base rate related to stormwater in order to accommodate and meet the needs of the growing community, as well as the recommendation for the council to adopt a capital facility charge for new connections to the stormwater utility or new impacts to the stormwater utility. Again, in order to support the growth and the needed future development of the stormwater utility. As a result of that study and in conjunction with the adoption of the comprehensive plan, the City Council in 2023 enacted Ordinance 03832, and that ordinance did two things. One, it adopted a capital facility charge related to stormwater infrastructure. And two, it updated the base rate associated with the monthly rate you pay as a customer for the stormwater utility. The ordinance was adopted again by the previous council, and it had an effective date at the time of April 1st, 2024, excuse me. So the rates were intended to be implemented at that date. While staff was working to develop a plan for implementation, additional edits to the ordinance and to the associated code language were identified as being necessary in order for us to have a successful implementation. This ordinance makes the changes recommended by staff in accordance with that audit of Ordinance 03823. Again, this ordinance is intended to remedy issues that were identified in that ordinance and is not adopting the CFC or the storm rates. Those were previously adopted by the council last year. So what this ordinance does do are three things. One, it is a repeal and replace of a particular section of Ordinance 03823, POMC 1304025, due to a titling error. And so we are suggesting that you repeal and replace so that it can be very clear that the CFC charge is located in 1306 and not 1304. 1306 is your stormwater utility chapter, 1304 is your water and sewer. So this would remedy that. Second, it would remove the inspection fee that was included in the ordinance and procedures for inspections to occur. And as staff has detailed at our study session as well as in the materials provided, those inspections occur as a component of other permits. And so the need for an inspection as well as the associated fee was duplicative. And so it's been removed from this chapter. Inspections do occur, but they do not need to be separately identified in this chapter. And the fee, again, was duplicative. The third edit that this ordinance, or the third amendment this ordinance would make, relates to the measurement of impervious surface units as the city utilizes it to determine the base rate for the stormwater utility. So the existing code that applies to current customers of the storm drainage utility, so the residents of the city, have three different categories for the implementation or for the storm drain charge. One applies to all single-family residential accounts. The second applies to duplexes and triplexes. And the third applies to all multifamily, so anything above a triplex, and commercial accounts. What this ordinance would do is remove the second category for duplexes and triplexes. And duplexes and triplexes would then be measured based on their impervious surface in accordance with the same methodology utilized for multifamily and commercial accounts. We find that this approach is consistent with our neighbors and is consistent across the industry and allows us to measure the actual impervious surface impact of these particular types of dwelling units rather than merely charging them a multiplier of the single family rate. So if you have a single family residential account, the amount that you will be paying will remain the same, consistent with Ordinance 03823. But if you are a duplex or a triplex, this will now require the city to measure your impervious surface. And based on that, if you are under 3,000, you will be considered one ISU. If you are over, depending on how far over you are, you may be two ISUs. And you will pay a multiplier depending on the number of ISUs you are. This is going to be an effort by staff to perform the calculations. It's estimated there are approximately 100 or less accounts that will be impacted by this, and those efforts are already underway. And then as new accounts come online, the calculation will be embedded in the permitting process. So this isn't a huge lift for staff to implement, and we find that the recommended approach is far more equitable as it relates to the actual impervious surface impact directly leading to the charge that's associated with that particular account. And again, this is the methodology used by the majority of agencies in this area. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions related to this ordinance. Again, it's amending 1306, Chapter 1306 POMC. Again, the charges and the CFC were adopted last year. This is merely doing cleanup.
Councilmember Morrissey.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance repealing and replacing Port Orchard Municipal Code Section 13.06.160 and amending Port Orchard Municipal Code Sections 13.06.060, 13.06.080 and 13.06.100.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Terneri. Are there any questions for Ms. Archer related to this matter? Go
I
ahead.
have a question, because I remember talking to you, and it all made sense. But then another question popped up. Now, it says, let's just go back to the 1838 that we'll be doing now, and then it goes to 2403 and 2025. Now, it says the monthly surcharge. Now, our billing comes every 2 months.
Correct.
So is this 24 for 1 month and then 24 for the next month?
Correct. So if you look at the current code, 1306, the current charge says for single-family residential accounts, the monthly service charge is $14. And we bill every 2 months for our storm drain. So your bill will show $14 times 2. Moving forward, your bill will show for 2024, $18.34 times 2. So your bill will
Right.
reflect. Yes.
So mine goes up,
Yours will go up.
and then
Yes.
the following year, it goes quite a bit too, 24.
Correct.
You just double that.
Correct. It will be double 24. It'll be $50. Correct. And again, those rates were adopted in the original ordinance. This ordinance is merely amending the code sections to remove the category for duplexes and triplexes. So you're not adopting those rates with this ordinance.
Okay, I'm not adopting these rates right now.
No, the council last year did that. They adopted the rates.
Councilmember Morrissey.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I recall right, I'm just looking for verification. I believe Mr. Bond and staff looked at impacted residents, and we thought maybe there'd be 100 cases?
Correct.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, just making sure I remember that correctly.
And that
So-
effort is, we have an intern on staff that is going to do that.
Proactively reach out
Yeah,
and-
we're just going to do it. We have online resources that
Okay,
allow us.
that's right, because he said we could do that from,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, Google Earth is a fabulous tool. Councilmember Terneri.
Yeah, Mr. Bond, I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but do you have any idea of when the last time, for public record, the last time we had an increase in the stormwater? I think it was several years ago.
I wasn't directly involved in that, so I'm not sure.
It's been a number of years.
According to your code, it hasn't been updated since 2015.
Correct. Thank you.
And that delayed maintenance was taken into account when it comes to the setting of the base rate by the comprehensive plan.
Other questions or comments? All right, you'll be voting on the adoption of an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code 13.06 pertaining to storm drainage service charges and capital facility charges. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed?
Neutral, but I don't know
You-
yet.
You can vote
I'm
for
sorry.
or against. So which way are you voting?
Abstain.
Well,
cannot.
it's 4 people anyway or more, so I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Or nay.
All right, so
What
we
do I say?
have one nay. All right, we're on to item B, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Miles Resources LLC for the Bethel Avenue, Bethel Southeast, Lincoln Avenue Southeast, and Mitchell Road Southeast project. That was a mouthful. Mr. Ryan.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you this evening is a resolution that would approve a contract with Miles Resources LLC for the Lincoln Mitchell improvements. The city identified the need for the improvements on the Lincoln Avenue and Mitchell Road segments, including the construction of a roundabout at their intersections. Project involves partial reconstruction of roadways, sidewalk improvements, ADA ramps, driveway grading, storm drainage enhancements, street light, modular block walls, signing, striping, overhead franchise, utility work, and underground coordination. The Public Works Department confirmed that Miles Resource LLC bid met all requirements and was deemed the lowest qualified and responsive bid. Other bids ranged from $1.121 million to $1.365 million. Staff recommends that City Council adopt the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the contract with Miles Resource for the project in the amount of $1,089,176.20, including applicable sales tax. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Miles Resources LLC for the Bethel Avenue, Bethel Road Southeast, Lincoln Avenue Southeast, Mitchell Road Southeast project in the amount of $1,089,176.20 with applicable tax.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, seconded by Councilmember Trenary. And just as a refresher, remember we have in the total project, we have 2 roundabouts. This one is the one at Lincoln and Mitchell. The second larger roundabout is over at Bethel and Lincoln. They have separate funding sources, and the federally funded project on Bethel, we are still working through some challenges in the storm drainage permitting related to the federal funding source. This particular roundabout was funded with state money and had a requirement that we get this project underway now or lose the funding. So we've separated these 2 projects that we would have liked to build at the same time into 2 separate projects because of different requirements in the funding sources. So the upside to this is that we'll build this roundabout, and it'll allow us some traffic control options during construction of the other roundabout. But this is that first roundabout over on Mitchell and Lincoln that is happening first. So other questions or comments? I think we've all been briefed on this a number of times. It was just a refresher for everybody and for the public. So
I'll just add a comment to my fellow new council member. I was actually here for the reading of the opening. That's an interesting process. You should probably attend.
Opening of what?
the bid opening.
The bid openings.
Oh, the bid openings.
Learning
It is-
more about how
Yeah.
the city works.
Yeah, it is an interesting process. All right, other comments or questions? All right, you'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Miles Resources LLC for the Bethel and Lincoln Roundabout. No, excuse me, the Mitchell and Lincoln Roundabout. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the contract has been approved. We're to item C now, approval of change order number 1 to contract number 063-23 with JMG Constructors, Inc. for the McCormick Woods Well 11 site improvements. Mr. Ryan, this is you.
Thank you. Before you is a change order for the Well 11 site improvement project. This project, identified as a priority for the city, by the city, includes upgrading the system with a 1,250 gallons per minute submersible pump and a 1,250 gallons per minute booster pumping system. The project was phased due to its size. Change order 1 consists of the insulation addition to exterior walls deemed necessary during the construction for functionality. Change order 1 reflects a correction to the original design, adding R9.5 value insulation for the conditioned space as per the current energy code. The change increases the contract from $113,186.71, making the new contract the increase of change order 1 is $113,186.71. That brings the new contract in total to $6,109,719.17. Staff recommends the authorization of this change order, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just for clarification, Mr. Ryan, I believe there's more to this change order, though, than just insulation. If I recall from talking to, when you guys discussed this with me, that there's also a concrete style interior board that goes on the inside to protect that insulation too.
Correct.
This is
Correct.
a wet environment, and and as it was designed, it would not have given us as many years of life in the insulation and the interior wall treatment, and so it's got a more robust concrete style
Correct, I apologize.
wallboard, as well as insulation, because that's very expensive insulation.
That was one of my
That
questions.
was going to be.
This is a vapor wall. I'm sorry, failed to mention that part. So that does encompass the area for the conditioned space. So this was not designed, identified. There's no loss because this didn't get done. We would be required for the energy code to proceed this route. So it didn't change We didn't go backwards, but we do have this additional cost.
Should have been in the design to begin with, it wasn't, and now we're adding it, and it, because of requirements.
Because of the newest update to energy code, or would just slip by us the first time?
In our review, it didn't get, we didn't catch that we needed to comply with energy code on this building. And we can't have the water components in this building freezing, so we need insulation, and then we need to protect that insulation in that wet environment to prevent mold and mildew. Otherwise, we'd have other challenges in air quality in there. So, makes sense?
I did have another question as it revolved around budgeting. As
we have
the materials I read, looks like we're still well under budget for this project, so there's no fiscal impact, truthfully.
We have contingency funds built into all of our projects, and this is the first change order, so we're nowhere near it's just, it exceeds my change order authority, and that's why it's before you. That makes sense. Councilmember Diener?
While we're talking about this, how big is the building?
I don't have that information. I apologize.
I was just trying to get a scale of the changes. Okay. No worries.
It's a resilient surfacing that's going to be able to be cleaned, maintained.
Not your typical dry, it's not drywall.
Right.
We want to be able to hit it with a hose. So, Councilmember Diener?
Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute change order number 1 to contract number 63-23 with JMG Constructors Incorporated for the McCormick Woods Well 11 site improvement project in the amount of $113,186.71 with sales tax.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener and a second by Councilmember Fenton. I think we answered most of your questions on the front side, but I knew what they were going to be when I read the staff report, so many of them. So other questions or comments? I think the project's moving on quite well. I think there's going to be some road work out there in the next week or two. I saw they were staging for that when I drove by there yesterday.
Correct. The work's scheduled to start this week. We did get a portable message board out there for the notification piece.
Pipes go on the ground. Councilmember Trenary?
Councilmember Diener, in answer to your question, it shows like the 4,960 square feet of wall panel insulation is on the bid specs, but I'm not quite sure what the unit, the LS? Lump sum, okay. The insulation Z-furring, that's the spendy stuff on this retrofit, so just to help answer your question.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions or comments? Thank you for that additional information. All in favor of approving the change order number 1 to contract number 063-23 with JMG Constructors for the Well 11 project, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the change order has been approved. We're to item D, approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Teamsters representing municipal court employees regarding part-time employee benefits. Ms. Lund, this is you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Council. The municipal court has made the difficult decision to reduce the hours of a current full-time employee from 40 hours to 20 hours per week. This decision has been made based on the workload and operational needs of the court. City policy provides that the city will pay 50% of the cost of medical insurance for employee-only coverage for those part-time employees working between 20 and 30 hours a week. However, in the case of a union employee, we must first look to the language in the collective bargaining agreement, which might deviate from the city's policy. Upon review of that language, it was noted that the title of the article governing medical insurance for part-time employees could be interpreted to mean that a 20-hour per week employee was not eligible for a city contribution to the employee's medical insurance. That would be inconsistent in how the city treats all other 20-hour per week employees. Therefore, the city and the union have agreed to a minor amendment to make the collective bargaining agreement between the city and the Teamsters representing municipal court employees consistent with the treatment of other 20-hour per week city employees. So in this case, this is an extension of collective bargaining, so the MOU that you're asked to consider tonight has been sent to you under privilege from the city attorney. So you should have all received that on Monday in your email boxes, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Staff is asking for you to authorize
Motion or other questions? Councilmember Diener?
I guess we'll move with the motion first.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Teamsters representing the municipal court employees regarding their part-time employee benefits.
Second.
Councilmember Diener, you were just a little, I got, you made the motion, but just try to get a little closer to that microphone.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I'm certain you were difficult to hear on the recording. So, the motion a second. Do you have as the motion maker, do you have a question?
No, I just had a comment.
Okay.
That I'm happy to see that we're doing this. Equity is very important, and I'm glad that the city's moving on this.
Yeah, it was just an omission that we didn't catch in the contract, and when we need to treat all of our employees equitably, regardless of the contracts. And the Teamsters were very receptive to making this modification, and it is the right thing to do.
Yep.
Other comments or questions? All right, you'll be voting on the approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Teamsters representing municipal court employees regarding part-time employee benefits. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the MOU has been approved. We're to our last item, which is the item that was added to the agenda, which is a resolution authorizing the city to apply for a Recreation Conservation Office grant for the Orchard Street Plaza project. Mr. Bond, this is you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. The Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office offers a variety of grants available to cities every 2 years. The application deadline for 2024 is May 1st, 2024. In order for the city to apply for a grant, RCO requires a resolution from the City Council in support of each grant application. The resolution commits the city to the submission of the application, and if the grant is awarded, a separate resolution will be submitted to the council accepting the grant funding. In 2024, the city is proposing to submit a grant application for a WWRP water access grant. The proposed resolution authorizes the mayor or designee to apply for and sign various documents using RCO's approved form. The project application that the resolution would authorize is for $500,000 in funding towards the Orchard Street Plaza project, which in our grant application we're actually calling the Port Orchard Marina project for construction. The proposed project would build a waterfront plaza within the Orchard Street right-of-way and on Department of Natural Resources land leased to the City of Port Orchard and Port of Bremerton surrounding the new Marina lift station. The staff report includes a description copied from the pending grant application, which has not been submitted yet. I'm going to just summarize it by saying that the finished plaza will include lighting, decorative pavers, improved wayfinding, public seating, a stage, a shade canopy for events, and the plaza will also accommodate a reconstructed pathway running through the site along the water. Unfortunately, they limit you to 500 or 1,500 characters when you reply, and so you have to write very weirdly structured sentences and also try to tick all of their boxes as you're describing the project rather than describing it in a way that I would normally in a council meeting. And apologies for the late addition to the packet. There's a fifth Monday in April, and we had the wrong date down as the deadline for getting this in the packet, and we almost missed it, but we caught that yesterday, so thank you for adding it to the agenda. The staff recommendation is to approve the resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an authorization for the RCO WWRP Water Access Grant Program as presented.
Councilmember Trenary.
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the city's application for RCO grant funding for the RCO WWRP Water Access Port Orchard Marina Plaza project and for the mayor to sign all necessary forms to effectuate that application.
Second.
And by Councilmember Trenary, second by Councilmember Diener. Any questions of Mr. Bond? I think we want to get all the free money we can to help build our community center and the plazas and associated amenities.
Thank you for your time put into this, Nick.
All right, you'll be voting on the resolution to authorize city staff to apply for a grant for the Orchard Street Plaza. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, you have the authority to apply, Mr. Bond. I'm going to quickly run through. We had our city council retreat a couple Fridays ago, or a Friday ago, and we met with staff. I met with staff, and we had 3 buckets. One was things we want to do now, and remember, staff has things on their plate already. So now is going to be kind of a relative term. We're going to get to these things as quickly as possible, and these are some guideline. Some of these things that I've got it later in the summer or even to the fall is things fall off of our agendas. We meet the Wednesdays after the council meeting to look at the agendas, so it can be a little fluid. What we think we're going to do next council meeting sometimes gets postponed. So if we get a light agenda, we'll of course fill that agenda back up with other things, but I know these are timelines that we can meet, and I'll run through these very quickly. So you had one of these was to hold parliamentary training and roles and responsibilities training, and the city clerk is looking into the length of that video, so we know how much meeting time we need to allocate for that parliamentary training, and our city attorney is going to provide that other training. And ideally, we do those in the same evening, but if they're going to be too lengthy together, we'll likely separate them, and we'll get back to you with dates on that. You discussed increasing the number of summer hires from 4 to 6, and Debbie just put that out there, and we've increased the number, and that will also involve a budget amendment, and we did confirm that we are being competitive with the county. We want to pay slightly more than the county is. We have 6, they have 100, and we don't want them to have all of the college students out there working for them. And so we're currently recruiting for those. We talked about the reorganization at of creating an asset management specialist, and Debbie's working on that job description, and we'll have that before you at the May 28th council meeting, so the end of about a month from now. Also, that that office assistant 3 position to perform the administrative duties, so that's a promotion for somebody related to doing the administrative side of our stormwater permits. That'll also be before you on May 28th. We are still having conversations about the entry-level engineer position. When we talk to our city engineer, we're down 2 engineers right now, and you're likely going to see very soon here, you just awarded that contract for that roundabout. We don't have anybody to manage that project, and I think we talked a little about already. You're going to see a contract come forward for a consultant to manage that and do those inspections for us. Chris simply doesn't have the capacity to train an entry-level engineer. So to try to satisfy Chris's concern, we're going to post this as a 1 or a 2 and see if we can get a 2 out there. If we can't, then we'll attempt to hire the best available candidate, but I felt we needed to listen to our city engineer and his capacity and ability to train somebody that's right out of college. So more to come on that as we find a candidate and better define what that looks like. You said we wanted to move forward with the traffic impacts fee study, and Nick will have that before you on May 14th. And then we had a number of code changes that related to how you guys conduct your business, and the city attorney is working towards sometime in June, having that before you guys for consideration. And those updates include the sponsorship of ordinances, adding ground rules for the council members. Remember those? They weren't guiding principles, but they were, rules of conduct. Changing the public comment period, so we have one comment period at the beginning of the meeting, and let's see here, our draft ordinance amending. Okay, And then I've gotten conflicting information too. I know Councilmember Rosa Pepe advocated that we, until recently, it was brought to our attention that formally adjourning the meeting is something in my 18 years we'd never done. And so Jay was saying, well, why do we have it in our code if we're not doing it? And so I've heard from some, let's just do away with it. And then I did hear one council member speak to it, well, we should do that. And so before Charlie drafts code to change it, what is your preference? Do you want that formal process at the end of the meeting, or are you comfortable with our current practice?
Don't we always, I thought we always ended it.
We just end the meeting.
It seems like we always do second, or someone, oh, we forgot to do this, so it seems like we do that, though.
Just here in the last couple of months, because it was Councilmember Rosa Pepe brought it to our attention. Our code says we should be doing this. Why aren't we doing it? And I didn't know it was in the code, so go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think I had just said, I think we should start doing it.
Okay.
And mine's more, I think, long-term planning, and I think it would be in the best interest. Let's just add it to the agenda and get her done.
Okay. And
I agree.
I see Jay's hand raised there, and he's the one that originally brought the issue up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My feeling on it is that it's not necessary to have that formal process to go ahead and delete it, but I'll go with what the council thinks we do. But since it's in our POMC right now, we need to do it each time. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Others have opinions on it?
More official.
Can I give some color?
Okay.
Yeah, I just give some quick color. While I don't think we need it specifically for this council and mayor, I just can foresee that as if the mayor has the ability overseeing our meetings in the long term, you don't have the right person in the right seat, that meeting could be ended without the approval of the full council. So while I don't necessarily see that would be an issue today, I would like to protect that for future councils.
Fair enough. I just didn't want code drafted that you weren't in agreement with. Councilmember Diener?
I'm somewhat ambivalent, but I think if we need to decide, I'm going to go with John on this one.
Okay, fair enough.
That's a good argument.
We've dealt with all of those. We're going to hold a work study likely in July, unless we can fit it in to discuss our guiding principles. The city attorney is going to draft by May 14th a white paper related to our options related to the Myries building, which are, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. There aren't any, but she's going to give us an official opinion on that. We talked about the $1,406. We have a contract coming likely next council meeting from Housing Kitsap, but we're still love to have nonprofits to perform those services for us, and send them to me if somebody's out there. We can give those, or actually contract for those dollars. We'd love to put those to work, subsidizing rents to low-income individuals. So we're going to create a road cleanup program. That draft ILA between us and the county will be at your next city council meeting, and we're going to have targeting September for more discussion, if not sooner than that, related to the disposition of the library property once the community center's been built. So those were the now items, and there was another bucket that is budget orientated, and then you've got a third bucket that we will probably dust off later in the year, and because a number of them needed further discussion or longer term items. So that is, any comments or concerns with the draft we put together? We'll make it happen. So ends the discussion item. Committee reports. Utilities Committee, have you given a report since you've met?
Yes, we gave a report, and.
2 weeks ago? Okay.
Yeah, next meeting is not till May.
Gotcha. And I see that Economic Development is meeting May 13th, and I think you guys also have given a report previously. Finance met last week. Mark, do you have anything to, basically a review of the financial statements?
Yeah, that was a week ago. It's hard to remember. But
I
I do have a couple of things. We reviewed the first quarter sales tax and REIT revenues, and they continue to be strong. Had a good presentation by Sean, the city's IT manager. And due to a recent cybersecurity audit, the city received a perfect score from the state on this, and we should be very proud of that. That our IT team of what, 2.5 maybe, is on top of things that well. So I wanted to give Sean an attaboy for that one. We discussed a budget amendment that will be coming up to the full council here in a month or so regarding the Pottery non-motorized street project. Noah talked about a new automated process for sending out the voucher payment histories that we all receive just before our council meetings. It kind of takes him out of the loop, and that seems to be working very well.
It doesn't really take him out of the loop. It's just that check register that you guys get is now automated versus him having to send you an email. The system is generating that report and automatically sending it out to you.
Mr. Morrissey, is there anything else?
No, I think I was just going to clarify just what the mayor said. Like right now, when that happens, so-and-so's got to approve it, and then once it's all done, he's got to manually send it. It'll be all automated for, I think, even moving throughout the stages. So not only will save time getting to us, but the process and whoever needs to approve it internally within the city will be much more efficient as well. So I love to hear about efficiency.
Someone can be on vacation and the process doesn't stop. So, all right. Transportation met this evening.
Yes, I'll give an update. I must caveat that it's hard to keep up with taking notes while trying to listen to the issues. So if I miss something, Dennis, please step in. But we began the meeting with updates today where we talked about the Bethel and Lund intersection, a future roundabout, is going in front of KRCC and alongside other countywide asks. We're seeking $500,000
for a design. Yes.
And that decision won't be made until 2027. So we're looking at that as obviously as one of our long-term projects. The Salmonberry Bethel Phase 2 is at 60%. There's a fair amount of small right-of-way acquisition parcels that will need to occur with that.
And it's not at 60%. We've awarded the contracting and working towards our 60%
Okay,
design.
thank you for that clarification. Let's see. The improvements to Pottery Road, the non-motorized improvements, that's scheduled to start soon with the pre-con or pre-construction meeting for a June start. We talked about staff shortages, and much like we just talked about, might be looking at outsourcing for transportation review help, especially some of the projects like Pottery and the roundabout at Lincoln and Mitchell. The state's roundabout, SR 166, or the roundabout in front of Kentucky Fried Chicken, they are scheduled to come out early next week and start. That's a state project, but the state is telling us they're coming out early next week and working on some punch lists. The actual paving schedule is yet to be determined. We went through the Transportation Improvement Program update for the comprehensive plan, and so we were just made aware of a number of changes, projects that are currently happening or projects that were satisfied and completed. We also talked about McCormick speed tables or the speed bumps, or humps, I guess they're calling them. So the survey on that is set to go out soon. I think you said 120 people, Mr. Mayor, will be receiving that survey. Just a couple more things to get it ready to go and it'll go out. And then finally, the last thing we talked about was Eagle Crest Court had asked for no parking signs on a problematic corner, and we determined that that wasn't needed. Instead, we could rely on code that does not allow commercial vehicles to park on street in neighborhoods. So.
And on that survey, I gave the printing company the green light today And so based on their schedule, I would hope that that goes out, goes in the mail maybe the end of the week, and should be hitting people's mailboxes first part of next week is the goal. Survey's live. We're just sending a QR code and web address to target the impacted homes in that neighborhood, which is about 120 households.
Mayor, have a question.
Yes, sir.
On that survey, I've had several people, I believe, live outside of some of the impacted units because they walk McCormick Woods. Would those people be able to go online and also give their opinion?
No. We are targeting the households in that geographic area.
I'll bring back some comments from the people separately. Thank you.
And mine is right along that same, is there something that would prohibit someone like myself from getting my hands on said QR code and taking that survey?
Part of the survey process, you have to put your address in.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
So we're trying to put steps in place that, how do you feel about this? And we want your name and your address as part of the survey process so we can verify that you are one of the households in the affected area. So, Councilmember Chang?
Yeah, is Bethel 1 the last phase of Bethel, or is that Bethel Sedgwick?
There's 5 phases, and phase 5 got built first because of the accidents that we have from Mitchell Y. It scored really well in a grant, and it wasn't our highest priority, but we got money from a grant, which caused us to move quicker on that. Bethel Phase 1, and which is the one that we were doing ourselves, which is the 1/10 sales tax measure that the council passed that is funding the 2 roundabouts at Blueberry and at Salmonberry and the complete street. So that's Phase 1. And then Phase 5 is what we're building first. And then we're pursuing a grant for part of Phase 4, which is the Lund and Bethel intersection, because that's the next choke. Once we fix the 2 ends, we've got to get people to Tremont, and that intersection is the choke point. So we're applying for those grant dollars to design that and hopefully bring that to construction right after we've completed these other phases. All right. Let's moving on. The mayor's report. Believe it or not, I don't have one tonight. So we're going to move on. I don't know, shocked. Councilmember Cacciardi would be former Councilmember Cacciardi would be very happy.
You kind of did.
I'm pretty happy about it myself.
All right. So, didn't prepare anything and gave you a lengthy one 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to move on to department heads. Mr. Ryan, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you. So just an update. We committed to coming back and reporting to the City Council of the final cost for change order 3 for the Marina Pump Station. As you recall, City Council approved the mayor's emergency declaration back on March 29th, 2024, which allowed us to waive the procurement processes and proceed with the repair in the not to exceed amount of $300,000. After continued negotiations with the contractor to refine the price and reduce the scope of other work that was intended for this project, the final price with tax is $272,060.39. This is about $30,000 less than what was anticipated previously, so we were able to reduce some of that work. I do want to compliment staff on the creative solution they came to this project. The mayor's emergency declaration assured this emergency with the State of Washington Department of Ecology and the Department of EPA, so it allowed us to not have a rework, which would have been extremely costly, or extend this project. We would have saw the cost probably approach $500,000. So this is an opportunity to tell the council we don't take emergency declarations lightly. In the time of a disaster or an event, the timing of these emergency disasters can affect when we can start getting reimbursable funds and when that clock starts. So it's appreciated, and it was a good solution to the outcome. So
without that emergency order, our costs would have likely doubled or more because of the demobilized, standby, and remobilization, then to do the work that we knew had to be done.
what type of effect has it had on our total timeline for the project?
We're only about a week behind.
Nice, good work.
Keep the rain away and we'll keep digging hole.
Been busy.
And we do not have to do a hot tap later in the project, so it might balance out.
All right, anything else? Ms. Lund, you have anything for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I just got called to my attention a few weeks ago, so I thought the council might be interested in hearing these numbers, and I'll be careful not to give you too many numbers. But in both 2022 and 2023, we hired 23 regular employees, so benefit eligible, typically full-time employees. We hired seasonals and interns above and beyond that. Just the regular employees, 23 in both years 22 and 23. And then in first quarter 2024, we've already hired 10. So nearly half of our FTE count, new hires from the last 2 years, was done in the first quarter of this year alone. And I just want to shout out to the HR analyst, Beth Spalding. She does 90% of the recruitment work on your behalf. And I was calculating the numbers. It's roughly, in very round numbers, a 1 week's worth of work for every new hire, 40 hours. By the time you post it, you interview, you screen, you set up the background check, all of those steps, and go through orientation. And so I don't know how she's gotten anything else done this first quarter, but she has. She chairs our wellness committee. She serves on our inclusion committee. She is on a variety of separate projects for me and writing job descriptions for all these new positions. In addition, we did 7 promotions so far this year, and we have 1 intern on board. So it has been an extremely busy recruitment time, and I just thought I would share that with you.
Are you able to characterize the departures that led to that 10 this year so far? Or?
Some of them are new authorized positions that you guys.
So they're additional
approved.
positions or replacements?
Some of both.
Half and half, or?
8 of them are replacements, and a large number out of the police department. We had some retirements, and that's been the retirement may have occurred last year, but we're still trying to fill those positions because there's such a process to that. But yeah, and the city, and we're watching it very closely. We have noticed a higher turnover rate than we've had historically here, so I'm keeping a very close eye on that. And the upcoming Inclusion Commission survey that will be going out starting next week after, we'll ask people if they thought about leaving us, and if so, why. So we can start to get a better idea of the culture issues that might be around that.
Excellent, thank you.
And I want to commend all of our, we have a very challenging work environment right now. If you haven't noticed the construction going on around here. And I mean, last Thursday, you guys know I had the little space over here. Well, Thursday I come in and the finance department that was working back here, they were ripping the siding off the side of the building right outside the windows that they were working at, and trying to help people on the telephone, and saws running and pounding on the wall. And I said, come on guys, and we rearranged that space from my needs to the 4 people that were in there so that they could serve the public in 30 minutes, but we have to be flexible, I guess, because the contractor, so this week they're putting the window, so nobody's in there right now because they're putting windows in. And next week we could be shifting around somewhere else. And sometime in July, we're gonna move into our new space downstairs, and then this space is gonna be under remodel. So we might have a few remote meetings while that's going on, because you're getting new lights and painting in here and new carpet. Beyond that, not a lot. I asked Jeff today, with Jay's situation, and he's not as mobile as he was, or for a short period of time. That door over there is a lift that from the original construction that for whatever reason didn't pass L&I's inspection standards. So it's been rent tags for 23 years. And so maybe we need to look at that, since we're doing all this work on the building. Maybe we don't need a lift. Maybe there should be just a ramp within that. It's a corridor that goes back into the conference room in the back. So we're going to take a look at that since it just triggered, why haven't we looked at that sooner and with all the other improvements that we're making around here. So sorry for the interruption, Debbie.
That was all I had.
Nick?
I just congratulate Ms. Lund as somebody who works through hiring and all that. You and Ms. Spalding have done an excellent job. She said 40 hours it takes to do all that, and they did 10, right? So that's 10 full weeks of Ms. Spalding getting that done. So excellent job. You guys, that's heavy lift, and we thank you. And I know you guys can continue. You got an extra set of paws on the team as well.
We do. We very much enjoy little Flynn and his kisses, and yeah. We have a dog that visits our office on a regular occasion.
Mr. Bond?
All right, just one announcement. We're going to have, for the comprehensive plan update, May 9th, we have an evening land use workshop. That's Thursday night. My calendar says 5 p.m., but that's because I'm probably supposed to be there before the public. I'm guessing 6 o'clock is when that starts. But if you'd like to attend, please let me know so that we can notice a quorum in the event that we have 3 or more council members at that meeting.
Yeah, and that land use committee tomorrow evening, I apologize. It got moved to tomorrow night, and I've got an Association of Washington Cities commitment that'll keep me away from that committee meeting tomorrow night. So, Ms. Archer, do you have anything to report?
I do. 2 very quick items. One, on Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court heard the oral argument in the Grants Pass matter, and I just sent around the link for you to listen to the audio if you'd like to. It was 2.5 hours long, so it is a lengthy listen, but it is absolutely worth it. We should be expecting a decision coming out of this term, so in a couple months. But the argument was promising as it relates to the justices sort of grappling with the realistic implications of the Ninth Circuit's decisions in both Martin and in the Grants Pass case as it relates to implementation of the burdens that the Ninth Circuit has placed on municipalities. In particular, there were quite a few questions focused on whether or not services need to be offered within the jurisdiction. The justices focused extensively on New Jersey, where apparently there are quite a few municipalities. One said, you could walk for 20 minutes and walk through 5 different cities. So because of that, they're sort of hinting at the realistic implementation problems that a lot of our smaller jurisdictions that don't have financial resources to provide the services are grappling with in light of Grants Pass. There were extensive questions asked and conversation about individuals with pets and the realities that we face with individuals who are unable to obtain shelter services because pets are prohibited from all the services. So, there were very good, realistic questions being asked, and so hopefully we'll get a decision that reflects those challenges and sort of a more navigable approach to the issue. So I've given you a bit of a summary in an email as well, and invite you to read that, and again, invite you to listen to the audio, and I'm happy to talk about that at any time offline with anyone. And then the other one, we talked briefly at our last council meeting about a recent case out of the U.S. Supreme Court, the Lindkey case involving social media. There was another case out of the U.S. Supreme Court, the O'Connor versus Garnier case, and it was essentially this too. So the court says because of the Lindkey case, we are also vacating this case. That case involved school board members who had even more of sort of social media pages that were originally set up to be personal, but then were attached to their positions on the school board and their sort of official board of trustees roles. And they started to block parents who were giving them negative comments. And again, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed the decision of the lower court, which held that there was a public fora created on those social media accounts. So instead, there is not a public fora created on those social media accounts, even though they were linked to their political positions, unless there is actual authority for them to be speaking on behalf of the agencies. So this, again, is very groundbreaking, and I still intend to give you a bit more guidance because this contradicts everything I've already told you about social media, because this is brand new, and the U.S. Supreme Court has turned everything on its head. So this one is even more sort of the nexus between their social media accounts and their job jobs was even clearer. So we're getting a bit more clarity from the court in this decision as well, and I plan to brief you on that and have additional conversations, maybe even an additional training in the mid-year as we all start to grapple with what this means. So appreciate that.
I got a question. Is the city ever on the government page will ever have the community to comment? Because usually we put information on, but the community can never comment. So will we ever go that route?
So that's exactly sort of the one thing that we still have clear guidance from to the Supreme Court on, which is our government pages are public fora, which means to the extent we have allowed the public to comment, we could do no editing of those comments. So if we allow public comments and there's anti-Semitism, there's racism, we would not be able to delete those comments. And so the recommendation is to terminate comments entirely so that it's not a public fora in that format.
The other challenge too is the capture and retention of the public records that it creates.
Absolutely, that's another factor, and it's one of the constraints related to the use of social media. It's a relatively clunky method of engaging with the public. So, say for example, a citizen used the comment period or the comment section to report an active crime, and we took no action. There could potentially be actionable consequences to us failing to be monitoring it on a regular basis. So that's why the comments are not provided for on the city's social media page.
So you're all in or you're all out?
Exactly. All in or all
that's
out.
what I gather.
Back to the grants pass decision. I know none of us have a crystal ball, but do you get the feeling that if a decision's made, we just revert back to pre-grants pass? Or there's going to be given guidance further on? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but did you get a feeling one way or another?
I think, and the attorney that I've been working with for the amicus for Washington Association of Municipal Attorneys, this comes from him, but if we had a crystal ball, it's that we will see a vacation of grants and even a potential vacation of Boise based on the pointed questioning of the majority of the council, particularly as it relates to sort of the practical impossibilities that both of those cases established for cities in the Ninth Circuit. So if we had, I can't guarantee that. There are procedural ways the court could ignore this case, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they are really grappling with sort of the issues, the practical impossibilities that the case presented. Again, I encourage you to listen to the oral argument. The conversation was very fixated on whether being unhoused is a protected status. Yeah. And if it is, then the acts associated with being unhoused, sleeping, public urination, are those acts themselves, can they be criminalized, or are they a component of the status? Because the precedents that they were discussing related to drug use. So being an active drug user is a protected status. The act of public drug use is a criminalized act. So they were trying to sort of grapple and fit being a member of the unhoused community into that framework, which it's really truly not the same, because the unhoused community can't be, they're not one thing. There's so many different types of individuals who find themselves in that condition.
Additionally, did we as a governing body make any changes to our code as a result of Boise or Grants Pass that we would need to consider, that we need to be ready for if something changes?
There's no code change.
We have not modified the,
Okay.
There is still an anti-camping ordinance on your code, or in your code, but we are not enforcing it as the courts. And that's what most agencies are doing currently. But as a result of what the Supreme Court tells us, since that is the ultimate arbiter, I would likely give recommended modifications to the code so that we can implement. And optimistically, they won't be as resource-driven as the Boise the Boise and the Grants Pass decisions created. So.
Thank you. It was just timely. We heard a really great presentation this morning around lack of services, specifically for youth in Kitsap County. There are none compared to our neighbors in the surrounding county. So thank you for that update.
Yeah, absolutely.
And part of this was rather problematic for our city is we didn't take the 1/10 or 1%. We let the county have that, and so they're collecting our dollars. And so then the Mile Hill Shelter is being created someday, and but if this grants pass decision sticks, the county has our money, and the shelter's not in our city. So it's problematic for us. How are we going to solve that? So hopefully we get some remedy in that, because the county's got the dollars, for our community, and we need to work in partnership with the county.
I feel like there's a conversation that's going to need to be had with the county because of that being just outside our city limits. But a large part of our population should be eligible for that. And
It's a
currently
countywide facility.
It's a countywide facility.
It is. Yeah. You, Jay?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. On this topic, I believe we heard our original thought had been that this was not going to be the only county facility. And yet I thought we heard that right now this is the only county facility. Are we going to have some discussions with the commissioners about that? Because it seems to be channeling everybody into the South Kitsap area, particularly our city, which is a matter of concern for us.
Yeah, it's the only one currently under construction, and it's taken a considerable amount of time. You're going to see, housing, there's all kinds of nonprofits getting grants and awards to build services. It just takes time for those things to come to fruition. We're seeing some of them in our city, and talking to the other mayors, there are things happening out there. They aren't going to solve the problem overnight, but incrementally, more and more things are being created. We've got a Mika House. I don't know how far along they are with their C of O and when they're going to be operational, but that is for young adults. So that's coming, and I know Salvation Army is building a women's shelter facility here in Port Orchard too. So there are things happening in Port Orchard, and talking to the other mayors, there's other things happening in other places in the county. It all isn't all Kitsap County. All right. We went down a rabbit hole there. Yeah, Chief.
Hi. Yeah, I do have a couple things to piggyback a little bit on what Debbie talked about. So we did hire 2 additional officers. One is a lateral officer from DOD who's starting on the 20th of May. And then we hired a brand new officer who will be starting with us on June 5th. He was originally scheduled for the academy in August. I think it's already dropped into mid-July, so we won't be having him sitting in the office for 5 months trying to find something good for him to do. Also wanted to make council aware that we are seeking collaboratively a grant with Gig Harbor Police Department through the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. And that grant is with a company called LifeScan, and they do health and lifestyle assessments specifically related to cardiovascular disease and stroke risk. Puyallup PD had the grant and went through them last year. They did have an officer that had an identified risk that hadn't been identified before, and he was able to get some treatment and stay healthy. And this would increase our commitment to officer wellness, which is not only the right thing to do, but also part of our accreditation standards. So more to follow on that when we are able to do a little bit more work with Gig Harbor. Other than that, that's all I've got.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Floyd, you have anything from the clerk's office?
I do not, but looks like Finance Director Crocker is online if he has anything.
Okay. Mr. Crocker, you have anything for your staff report?
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back on what Councilmember Trenary said. I would encourage the other council members who did not attend the Finance Committee to go back and watch the video. The presentation by our IT manager was fabulous, and the information was spot on. He's very knowledgeable, but speaks very well. So it's a well done presentation. So I encourage everyone to go look at it, and lots of good information there. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah. I know I said I didn't have a mayor report, but 2 things popped to mind. We've got a community service day this Saturday. Hope everybody comes out and joins us. There's 3 sites currently starting at 9 a.m. Etta Turner Park. Join the South Kitsap Rotary Club as they spread 30 yards of beauty bark around Etta Turner Park and across the Blackjack Creek Bridge. The morning Rotary Club is going to be spreading playground chips at Givens Park. And the downtown merchants are going to be sprucing up and cleaning downtown and painting the posts on the gazebo. And so come out and join in. And last Thursday evening, I got to participate in just a phenomenal event right here in City Hall. It was a civics bee with middle school students. And the young lady that won, the 8th grade student that won this thing, just blew me away with her public presence, her speech that she gave. I was just, I mean, it was just a wow. And all the kids did a phenomenal job, but this one young lady was just, you know, her mind is well beyond her age. I'll tell you that. And it was a great event. So it was. All right, we are to our second citizen comment period at this time. If anybody wishes to address the city council, you have 3 minutes. And please identify yourself for the record.
Wow. I am so sorry. My name is Shannon Turner. Mr. Mayor, council members, I am the vice president of the NAACP, Chapter 1134, which covers the entire Kitsap County area. And I had to apologize because this is the first time I've been here. I've made myself very well from Bremerton to Paulsbo to Bainbridge Island and so forth, but this is the very first time I've had a chance to come in here and address you guys as a whole. And one of the things I wanted to mention was the fact that with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, you mentioned that right at the very beginning, and the fact that at this point in this time, I think that's really important. As leaders, that's something that we should definitely continue to make sure goes across and goes down, because that is important throughout the community. It helps everybody across the board. So by you doing that and mentioning that, I really smiled because now we're seeing, in some cases, DEI kind of go away, and it turns into something like a click word, where they say, but they don't do. And listening to what you guys are doing and how you're doing it in your city presence as council members and as Mr. Mayor, it's impressive because it means you take it really hard and you make sure that your community is aware of exactly what you're doing and that you stand beside them regardless of who they are and where they're at. It doesn't matter because you're being very inclusive across the board. And so the diversity of it all, as things change and communities change, and you're now seeing more and more of minorities coming out and being there and within the community. And so to open them, well, to appreciate them and help them with open arms and see them as they really and truly are, to bring them into the fold means a lot. So for myself and on behalf of the NAACP, please come to one of our meetings, introduce yourselves, get to know who we are and what we do and how we do things. We would love, and I promise I'll be back, to have you guys come, just to check in, just to say hello. You know, we don't bite, at least sometimes. But I think it's important to have that relationship across the board because we work well with Chief Brown. We're constantly in his ear, and he's constantly in our ear to get advice in some cases, but we're there. We're there to support each other, and I think that means more than anything else. So again, I thank you. I commend you on a job well done and what you're doing, and I hope you continue to do that. I mean, if not, then I'll be here to say why. But I don't think we'll have that problem. You guys are great leaders. You got great workers to support you in what you do. So again, I know the red light's on, so I'm done. And thank you.
Sir,
Thank you.
thank you for coming here tonight. I greatly appreciate you being here and for your remarks. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Is there anybody online, Janine, that has raised their hand?
There is one person, but no hand is raised.
Right, with that, I will end the second citizen comment period. We have no executive session. Is there anything for the good of the order this evening? Jay, you've always got a good of the order, so I see your hand raised.
I do. First of all, thanks for everybody's well wishes. I'll be back in person at our next meeting. The first thing I did, believe it or not, was when I was at head computer, was check the POMC to make sure we had a helmet code for at least youth on bicycle helmets, and the answer is we do, and I really appreciate that we keep that. You can fill in the blanks between the lines. The second thing is, and I think that Councilman Morrissey can expound on this a little bit more. On my last ride, literally and figuratively, I went by the new space that's going in up in the McCormick Woods Trails area, the retail space, and they are going gangbusters on that, along with a lot of the building. So if you haven't been out that way, on either side of the roundabout, I would encourage you to do so. We have a growing city, both improvements in downtown and out on the west side, and I would encourage you to go there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Anything else for the good of the order?
I'll just follow up with kind of what Jay was talking through. They've actually done a lot of clear cutting right in that area, even furthermore past where the commercial space is going to go. I believe there's going to be some additional residential capacity in and around that as well. So I'm happy to see that coming to fruition. It's nice to see your face, Jay. We're all happy that you're in good spirits and doing well. We miss you and look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. And then thank you to the staff. I had 2 items on my agenda, both which were covered, but I think I'll add my last 2 cents. I said it earlier around one, lack of shelter space for those in those places where they are unhoused in our county compared to our neighbors. And specifically, I think it just really kind of tugged at my heartstrings this morning, hearing that what space we did have for youth is not available currently today, and that maybe we need to think about resources not only from this space here in our city, but as a whole throughout the county. We can't let our youth fall through those cracks.
And following up on the McCormick Village, that, you know, we're going to, not, the commercial element is being constructed, but the we're going to see our first step into the missing middle housing, that those, the triplexes, the fourplexes, the townhomes, and you know, got a lot of apartments, we've got a lot of single-family dwellings, but that missing middle with a more affordable housing that's not an apartment, I'm really excited to see that happening, and that walkable community out there to services is something new to our community, and I'm excited about it. So, all right, any other good of the orders? Councilmember Cherry?
Yeah, just a brief one. If you've driven around town lately, you notice that it's construction season, so please slow down and have some patience. It will be better when they're done and they've moved on.
Good advice. All right, any last good of the order? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we adjourn this meeting of the Port Orchard City Council.
And I second it.
Okay, I got a motion, a multiple seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
Recording stopped.
collection of them.
Can give you
It's right here, though. I mean, it's plain as day.
Well, it isn't.
It's plain as day.
It isn't. Give me go back and ask Brandy to find you findings from the summary. Did you get your program that we did last year? And watch and see the differences?
Did you already ask the mayor about tomorrow at 9? Did you ask him about a meeting tomorrow morning? Okay, good.
Okay, but we're getting more people to